Here's a breakdown of the over $12,000 worth of gear I brought to this Milsim game. Elite Force M3 MAAWS rocket launcher, $699.95. Tag-in Fist 2 air fill station, $109. Tag-in CO2 shells, $119 each, times 3 equaling $357. EMG Helios Daniel Defense Mark 18 RIS 3 airsoft gun, $339. Ace Tech Bifrost M, $89. AGM Rattler V2 thermal sight, $2,304. AGM Dual Tube NVG 40 APW, $8,495, equaling $12,303.95. Some of this equipment worked perfectly fine, but some basic components that were needed to work together failed. These small failures led to a cascade of inoperative equipment, some of which stopped working at intensely crucial moments.
Oh my god, gun!
Go!
The first item to not work as intended was my brand new EMG Helios Daniel Defense Mark 18 RIS 3. This stylish airsoft gun comes with a fully licensed Daniel Defense RIS 3 handguard with a Picatinny top rail and M-LOK mounts at the 3, 6, and 9 o'clock position. This gun is full metal and has all the Daniel Defense markings engraved on the upper and lower receiver. Attachments I've added are an Ace Tech Bifrost M, tracer and muzzle flash device, a generic paddle activated light and green laser, a Runcam 2 zoom camera, and an AGM Rattler V2 thermal sight. This is the upgraded version of the Rattler V1 I showcased in my thermal machine gun video. Powering the gun is an 11.1 volt Titan Power lithium-ion battery. Coupled with the evike.com power tuning service I combined with this gun, I anticipated it to be an absolute powerhouse of an AEG. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. One feature SEMA didn't bother to list about the gun is that the MOSFET has a 30-minute power cutoff. If this gun is not fired within 30 minutes of the battery being plugged in, the MOSFET will go into a power save mode and it will not fire. It wouldn't be until the day after the game that this was confirmed to me by the R&D department at evike.com. Friday evening before the start of the game, like everyone else, I plugged my battery into my airsoft gun, put on the rest of my gear, and rucked out to the patrol base. After a few hours, it was finally time to open fire on the enemy. To my astonishment and frustration, my brand new airsoft gun didn't fire. For the time being, all I could do was tell my squad where the enemy was with my thermal sight. The next morning brought hope to my gunless dilemma. As a fun squad heavy weapon, I brought my Elite Force M3 MAAWS, otherwise known as a Carl Gustav or Goose. This rocket/grenade launcher is made of nylon fiber reinforced polymer. It can fire a 65mm ball filled with BBs, different 40mm BB shower shells, or can be modified to shoot tag-in projectiles. To make the Goose capable of firing tag-in projectiles, the stock firing pin in the mock 84mm dummy rocket must be changed to a longer one. This aftermarket firing pin is made by Explosive Enterprises, and the STL file can be downloaded for free. The firing pin isn't a simple plug and play. You'll need to do some sanding to find the sweet spot of being able to load the tag-in shell into the 84mm dummy rocket without the pin pushing the tag-in shell while you load it into the Goose. I highly suggest printing several pins for finding that sweet spot. I also suggest coloring in the safe, fire, and insertion lines on the 84mm dummy rocket to make loading easier. I chose the CO2 powered tag-in shells for maximum power and distance. To fill the shells with CO2, I used a tag-in Fist 2. This is a small aluminum fill station that uses 12-gram CO2 cartridges. This $109 piece of metal is the only way we can charge the shells out in the field. Despite checking this days before the game, this happens. Come on. As I screwed together the Fist 2, the fill valve O-ring breaks and leaks all of the CO2 out into the atmosphere. We did try to fill some of the shells with the leaking Fist 2, but the projectile range was less than 20 feet. Not ideal considering this is what it should have been.
Oh, there you go.
Oh! Woo!
Roughly $1,165 worth of equipment, which is the combined cost of the M3 MAAWS, 3 CO2 tag-in shells, and the Fist 2 was all now useless. Now that the Goose was not a viable option, it was back to troubleshooting my Daniel Defense Mark 18. By Saturday afternoon, I figured out that if I just unplugged my battery and plugged it back in the gun, it would work. But I still didn't know about the 30-minute MOSFET power cutoff. So when it was time to make a big assault, I went into it under the assumption that my gun would work.
Hey, they're pushing. Yeah, let's go. Prep those grenades. Let's go! Get up! Keep the momentum! Oh my God, gun. Go! Not right now. That's a good fucking grenade. Let's fucking go! They're dead! Keep going forward! Throw it! Whoa. Hey, frag this way.
Copy, prepping frag.
Covering.
Frag out. Jet, low! Loading.
How is that guy?
Medic behind the tree!
Got him.
No.
After this engagement is when myself and all my friends heavily suspected some sort of power cutoff happening with the gun. Now, before any encounter, I would unplug, then plug my battery in. This small precaution paid off hugely as darkness descended, and it was now time to defend our patrol base against enemy nighttime attacks. This is when my AGM Rattler V2 thermal sight and AGM NVG40 white phosphorus dual tubes would justify their combined price tag of over $10,000. Here's the scenario. Myself and a fireteam sized recon element set up an LPOP on the western edge of the AO. A friendly platoon has set up a defensive position to our east. This platoon is overrun by a company-sized enemy element. Unaware of our unit, the enemy element moves north toward our patrol base. As they move north, my recon team sneaks over to our friendly platoon and revives them all. Our units combine and we all head north toward our patrol base behind the enemy attack. In the confusion of the night and the chaos of the battle, I personally come up behind an enemy squad organizing themselves to make a final push into our patrol base. Right before they begin their assault, I spray down their leadership and then the rest of their unit. This causes the rest of the enemy to lose the initiative, ending the enemy assault. The financial investment and return on this game was frustrating, but dwelling on those negatives would only deteriorate my enjoyment. Not everything will always go according to plan, and being able to pivot or adjust your plans can mean the difference between a fun weekend with your friends and a bad one sulking and complaining about equipment. These circumstances happen a lot in the military, which adds to the realism of the military simulation. As for solutions to my equipment problems, evike.com has a Matrix branded CO2 fill station that costs $45 and comes with a gauge. For my Daniel Defense Mark 18 Riz 3, my best option is to replace the SEMA MOSFET with a gate Aster. It is throwing more money at an already expensive dilemma, but that's just what one does when they really enjoy a hobby. It's now the final day of the game and our squad is trying to catch up to the rest of the company. Between us and the company is an enemy platoon. We aren't able to make the link up, but we do take a lot of them out before ultimately being squad wiped.
Hey man, I'm sorry for shooting you so much, but you weren't reacting at all.
I was trying to unplug my line and then lay down.
Oh, sorry, man.
No worries, no worries.
He's pushing us. Jet, right side.
It's all right. Just let him.
Oh.
No, es una batería lipo mía. Esa es lipo.